You're doing everything right. Texting him back, being supportive, showing him how much you care, yet somehow he's drifting, he's pulling away. And worse, he doesn't seem to miss you when you're gone. Why? It's not because you're not enough. It's not because you're doing too much or too little. It's because you've been taught the wrong things about what actually makes a man emotionally crave a woman. We've been told that if you're kind, available, loyal, that's what keeps a man. But here's the truth. Men don't miss nice. They miss impact. They miss presence, energy, absence that leaves a dent. And right now, you might be present physically, but emotionally, you're not creating the kind of contrast that makes him feel your absence. In this video, I'm going to flip the switch for you. I'll show you how to subtly shift your energy so that you stop being the option he takes for granted and start becoming the woman he replays in his mind at 2 a.m. This isn't about manipulation. This is about understanding what actually stirs emotional desire inside the male mind and how to trigger it without chasing, begging, or overthinking. So if you're tired of constantly wondering why he doesn't seem to care when you pull back, or why your silence feels invisible instead of magnetic, stay right here, because by the end of this video, you'll know exactly why he's not missing you yet and how to change that. Let's begin. When it comes to male obsession, most people assume it's about physical attraction, lust, or some kind of ego boost. But that's only the surface. What really creates lasting obsession, the kind where a man feels compelled to think about you, dream about you, and crave your presence, lies much deeper in the brain. It's rooted in emotional tension and psychological imprinting. Let me explain. Obsession doesn't begin when a man has you. It begins when there's just enough connection to feel you, but not enough to fully grasp you. His mind starts filling in the blanks. He imagines what it would be like to have more of your attention, more of your energy, more of your time. This unknown creates mental friction. That friction becomes addictive. Psychologically, this activates the dopamine reward loop. Dopamine isn't the pleasure chemical. It's the anticipation chemical. It's what drives craving. So when you're slightly out of reach, not cold, not distant, but mysteriously unavailable in just the right way, he begins associating you with a dopamine hit he hasn't fully earned yet. And the male brain loves a chase. But this doesn't mean you have to play games. It means you have to create contrast. Moments of warmth followed by moments of calm detachment. Presence followed by intentional absence. He needs to feel that he's not entitled to your energy, that it's a privilege, not a given. When a man senses that your world is full, that your life is rich with or without him, it activates a primal trigger, the need to earn you, and anything a man feels he has to earn, he values more. That's when obsession begins, not because you begged for attention, but because you became unpredictably magnetic. You live in his mind rent-free, not by force, but by curiosity, contrast, and emotional imprint. And once that loop starts, he doesn't just want to see you, he needs to. Because your presence gives him something he can't quite define, but doesn't want to lose. The biggest mistake women make when trying to make a man miss them is trying too hard to be missable. Let that sink in. Most women, when they sense distance from a man, when he's slow to respond, emotionally unavailable, or seems like he's drifting, immediately go into performance mode. They start doing more, reaching out more, proving their value, showing loyalty, offering their time, attention, and emotional availability like some kind of open buffet, hoping he'll realize, wow, she's amazing, I can't let her go. But here's the truth. That approach doesn't create longing. It creates comfort. And comfort in the early stages of emotional connection is the death of desire. What many women don't realize is that men don't miss what they have unlimited access to. They miss what they feel they're at risk of losing. Obsession isn't born in safety. It's born in tension, unpredictability, and emotional contrast. So when a woman starts chasing, even subtly, she flips a switch in the male mind. Instead of him pursuing her, he starts to feel like he's already won. And as soon as a man feels like he doesn't need to earn your attention, he starts devaluing it. Not always consciously. It's not because he's mean, manipulative, or broken. It's biology. It's how emotional systems in men operate. What's freely available starts to feel less significant. Another version of this mistake, constantly trying to remind him what you two shared. Texting him things like, remember when we did this, or I miss you, or even passive comments like hope you're doing okay. It feels innocent, but it's signaling one thing loud and clear: I'm still here. You don't have to do anything to keep my attention. And that energy, that emotional availability without boundaries, kills urgency, kills momentum, kills desire. The women who become unforgettable aren't the ones who over-explain, over-give, or over-perform. They're the ones who pull back with power, who go quiet not to punish, but to recenter, who choose stillness over chasing, and sovereignty over seeking validation. So if you've ever found yourself thinking, maybe if I remind him what he's missing, he'll come back, I want you to stop and ask what would shift if I stopped trying to be missable, and started simply living in a way that makes my absence feel like a loss. Because that's the truth. It's not about what you say to make him miss you. It's about what you stop doing. And when you stop trying to prove your worth, and instead embody it silently, that's when he feels it. That's when he notices. That's when the real missing begins. Being unforgettable isn't about looks, wealth, or even being the most fun or exciting person in the room. Those things catch attention, but they don't create lasting impact. If you want to become the woman a man can't stop thinking about, the kind that lingers in his thoughts long after the conversation ends, it's about something far deeper. Emotional imprint. A woman becomes unforgettable when she makes a man feel something he doesn't feel with anyone else. Something real, something raw, something that challenges him and soothes him at the same time. And the key to that, authentic contrast. Let me explain. Most people operate in emotional patterns, predictable behavior, surface level conversations, safe, filtered energy. But unforgettable women don't operate on autopilot. They disrupt patterns. They bring a sense of presence that wakes a man up emotionally. Whether it's through the way she looks at him, like she actually sees past his ego, or the way she speaks, slowly, intentionally, without trying to fill every silence, there's a sense of depth. She doesn't perform. She doesn't chase. She doesn't mold herself to fit into what she thinks he wants. And that's what makes her unforgettable, because she's not trying to be anything. She simply is, fully, boldly, calmly. Unforgettable energy comes from a woman who knows who she is, and who doesn't over-explain it. A woman who can be soft without being passive, who can be warm without being needy, who can be mysterious without being cold. There's a rhythm to her that isn't trying to match his, and that makes him lean in. She's not always available, not because she's playing games, but because she actually has a life that nourishes her. Hobbies, friendships, goals, passions. And because of that, she doesn't make him the center of her emotional world. That's what creates gravity. That's what makes her unforgettable. Because he's not just receiving attention, he's being invited into a life that already feels full. And when he does get her attention, it feels earned. It feels meaningful. It's not just access, it's access with value. What men remember most about a woman isn't the texts, the selfies, the compliments. It's how they felt in her presence. Did he feel respected, challenged, emotionally safe? Did he feel inspired? Did he feel seen? When you can be that kind of emotional experience, not because you're trying to, but because you embody it, you create a permanent mark. Something his brain doesn't know how to forget. Something his next relationship probably won't replicate. And here's the secret most people miss. Being unforgettable doesn't mean being perfect. It means being real in a world full of performance. That's the kind of woman a man thinks about, months, even years, after she's gone. There's a powerful concept in psychology called the emotional memory loop. And once you understand it, you'll stop wondering how to make a man miss you, because you'll know exactly how to leave a mark on his mind without ever having to chase, overgive, or compete. An emotional memory loop is what happens when someone relives a specific feeling over and over again, not just the event that caused it. What sticks in someone's memory isn't just what you did or said, it's how they felt in your presence. That's what loops back when they're alone, driving, lying in bed, or trying to focus on someone else. And here's where it gets interesting. The brain doesn't distinguish between the real-time event and the memory of the emotion. So if you create a strong enough emotional experience, something uniquely felt, his brain will subconsciously revisit it, reinforcing the loop. That's how obsession forms. Not in the mind, in the nervous system. To trigger this loop, it's not about being constantly present in his life. It's about standing out in the moments you are, The key isn't to flood him with affection. It's to create contrast, because contrast creates tension, tension creates memory, and memory creates craving. Think about it. When you surprise him with genuine vulnerability after being strong and composed, that contrast creates depth. When you're playful and teasing one moment, and calm and mysteriously quiet the next, his brain can't predict you. And what the brain can't predict, it fixates on. That fixation is the beginning of a loop. You become someone he wants to understand, not someone he has figured out. You leave emotional fingerprints that linger, because they weren't rehearsed, they weren't typical, they were real. Another way to activate this loop: sensory anchors, the scent of your perfume, the tone of your voice, the way you laugh, not forced or filtered, but full and uninhibited. These are the details that loop in the mind without warning. He might hear a song, or walk past a cafe and feel that rush of you, even if you're not around. And when you combine emotional contrast with intentional distance, not ghosting, not disappearing, but stepping back with self-possession, you give space for that loop to play. His memory fills in the gaps, his curiosity builds. He goes from feeling your presence to being haunted by your absence. That's when he starts checking your socials, thinking about reaching out, wondering if he messed up, wondering what you're thinking. That's the loop, quietly playing on repeat, because you didn't just interact with him, you impacted him. The goal isn't to manipulate his mind, it's to imprint it, to leave behind something unforgettable, not with effort, with energy, with intention. Once that emotional memory loop starts, he'll realize he's not just missing you, he's reliving you. One of the most frustrating and confusing moments in any connection is when you finally decide to pull back, give him space, and stop chasing. And instead of him coming closer, he pulls even further away. It feels like a punch to the gut. You think, I did the right thing, so why does it feel like I'm losing him completely? Here's what's really happening. When you first step back, especially if you've been emotionally available, consistent, or even slightly overgiving, your energy shift disrupts the dynamic. Suddenly, the comfort and certainty he felt from your attention is gone. And at first, he doesn't know what to do with that. Some men, especially emotionally avoidant ones, don't immediately miss you. They feel relieved because space feels safe to them. They're not panicking about your absence. Not yet. They're enjoying the quiet. And that can make you feel like your withdrawal had the opposite effect. But this initial silence doesn't mean your presence meant nothing. It means the emotional pattern has been interrupted, and his nervous system is still adjusting. You've removed something he was used to leaning on, and now, without your energy holding the connection together, he's drifting because he's never had to be the one to hold it before. So what do? You don't rush to fix it. The worst thing you can do when he starts pulling further away is to panic and reinsert yourself. That sends the message, my boundaries were just a test. You can still take me for granted. And once a man knows that, the cycle of emotional complacency begins again. Instead, you hold the line. You maintain the space with strength. This is the exact moment where most women fold, and where unforgettable women stand out. Why? Because emotional distance is often not the problem. It's the reaction to it that defines the outcome. Let him feel your absence fully. Don't chase. Don't hint. Don't try to make him miss you louder. Let the silence speak. Let your stillness say everything your words can't. And while he's sitting with that space, you shift your focus. You recenter. You pour your energy into areas of your life that fulfill you. Not to distract, but to expand. Because when a man senses that your life didn't pause when he pulled away, that's when he feels it. That's when the weight of your presence, and now your absence, hits him. Some will return, some won't, but the ones who can't forget you are the ones who realize they lost something real, not because you begged, but because you were willing to let go without losing yourself. Distance doesn't destroy connection, but fear-based reactions do. Stay grounded, stay still, let the space reveal what words never could. When it comes to making a man miss you, what you say matters, but probably not in the way you think. It's not about long, emotional paragraphs. It's not about confessing your feelings, hinting that you miss him, or trying to remind him how good things used to be. In fact, the more you try to convince him with words, the more you push him away. Because the truth is, obsession doesn't grow in explanation. It grows in intrigue. So what actually hooks his attention? It's not the message that's obvious. It's the one that makes him pause, reread, feel something subtle but strong. It's the message that makes him wonder, what's going on with her? Not in a way that says you're trying to get a reaction, but in a way that shows you're operating from a place of inner calm, self-worth, and unexpected energy. Let's say he finally reaches out after some space. Don't respond with enthusiasm or emotional need. Respond with controlled warmth. For example, hey, nice to hear from you. Hope all's been well on your end. Simple, no neediness, no pressure. But you're not cold either. You're calm, you're centered. That's what triggers curiosity, because it shows you're not waiting. Another powerful type of message, one that's emotionally rich but non-committal, a message that sparks a shared memory without inviting a full conversation. Something like, drove past that place we went to that night. Still makes me laugh. That's it. No question, no request, just a subtle emotional breadcrumb. He'll feel it. It reactivates an emotional memory loop without you pushing the door open. He starts remembering the version of you that made him feel good. And now he's wondering if you're missing him too, or if you've moved on, or if you haven't heard from him and want to say something that reclaims your power without begging. Try this. Hey, I've been reflecting and realized I need to focus on things that reflect the energy I give. Hope you're doing well. No blame, no emotion, just elegant detachment. And it leaves a mark, because it shows you're not desperate, you're decisive. And decisiveness in a woman is magnetic. You don't need to be witty or poetic. You just need to be intentional. Every word should reflect your value, not your insecurity. And the more unexpected your energy, the more he'll lean in. Remember, the words that hook his attention aren't loud. They're the ones he doesn't expect from you. The ones that show growth, stillness, strength. You're not trying to get him back. You're reminding him, without saying it, that you're not where he left you. And that is what hooks him. Not because you needed him, but because you evolved without him having to ask. Feminine energy is not about being passive. It's not about being quiet, submissive, or pretending you don't care. True feminine energy is powerful, but it's a different kind of power. It doesn't chase, it doesn't compete, and it doesn't prove. It pulls, it invites, it attracts, and that's why it's magnetic. In dating and relationships, we often associate strength with masculine traits, assertiveness, logic, control. But what creates romantic tension, what activates a man's desire to pursue and emotionally invest, is not matching that energy. It's balancing it. And that's where your feminine energy becomes your secret weapon. Feminine energy is about receiving rather than reaching. It's the art of presence. When you're anchored in your feminine, you're not trying to be chosen. You are the chooser. You're calm, grounded, emotionally open, but not emotionally available to just anyone. That distinction is powerful. When you're in your feminine energy, your worth isn't tied to someone's reaction. You don't need constant validation. You're not trying to get his attention by over-functioning or over-communicating. You're rooted in who you are. And that quiet confidence makes a man feel something rare, the urge to rise, to pursue, to prove. Because men don't fall in love with what's always available. They fall in love with what feels real, what feels unshakable. Feminine energy also allows space, emotional space. You're not trying to control the outcome, and that's what makes him come closer. He feels safe around you, but also challenged. He doesn't feel pressure, but he feels your presence. That mix of softness and mystery is unforgettable. It shows up in how you move, how you speak, how you listen, not rushing to fill every silence, not demanding answers, just being fully. That alone creates contrast in a world that's always rushing, always performing. And here's the key. Feminine energy is not a tactic. It's not something you turn on to get a man. It's a return to your natural rhythm. One that society has conditioned many women to disconnect from. But when you remember it, when you reclaim it, everything changes. You stop trying to be more logical, more cool, more unbothered, and instead you become deeply felt. And that's when a man realizes, you're not like the rest. You're not reacting, you're radiating. You're not chasing, you're choosing where your energy flows. That's when attraction stops being just physical and becomes emotional. And emotional attraction is what makes a man commit, invest, and obsess. So if you've been overthinking how to make him miss you, pause, come back to you. Come back to the soft, strong, grounded woman who doesn't need to force anything. That energy, that's unforgettable. You don't have to disappear to be missed. You don't have to ghost him, block him, or suddenly cut off communication to make an impact. In fact, ghosting can backfire because it doesn't always create mystery. Sometimes it creates confusion or resentment. The real power is in making a man feel your absence while still being technically visible. It's about subtle emotional withdrawal, not total silence. That's what makes him feel the shift. So how do you do it? First, understand this. What he misses most is not your physical presence. It's your emotional availability. The way you used to respond quickly. The way you'd check in. The way your energy felt there even when you weren't physically near. To make him feel your absence, you remove that access. Not harshly, not with attitude, but with elegance. You slow down your replies. You become less emotionally expressive. Not cold, just contained. You stop being the emotional caretaker of the connection. You stop holding space for him when he's not doing the same for you. You pull your energy inward, and he feels it. Not in his inbox, but in his gut. Suddenly, the woman who was once emotionally present is harder to read, harder to reach. And that unpredictability doesn't make him mad. It makes him curious. It makes him pay attention. Because contrast is what creates craving. You're not being mean. You're not punishing him. You're simply living in a way that doesn't revolve around his pace anymore. You start responding in your own time, not to trigger him, but because you're not available on demand. You're choosing peace over performance, detachment over functioning. You're not ghosting him. You're just no longer anchored to him emotionally. And that difference is powerful. Another subtle way to create absence. Stop volunteering emotional intimacy. Don't overshare. Don't tell him what you're doing every moment. Let there be silence. Let there be mystery. You're not hiding. You're just not broadcasting. And most importantly, you don't chase clarification. If he's unclear, distant, or inconsistent, let him be. You're not filling the gap anymore. You're not rushing in with reassurance, validation, or connection. You're simply allowing the distance to speak for itself. Here's what happens next. Either he starts wondering what changed, or he fades out entirely. Either way, you win. Because this is not about forcing a reaction. It's about reclaiming your center. Creating space that says, I'm not going to fight for someone who doesn't feel the loss of me. That's when the shift happens. That's when he starts to notice the difference between a woman who's waiting and a woman who's walking away with grace. You don't have to ghost him to leave a void. You just have to stop showing up where you're not being met. And when you do, that silence becomes louder than any words you could have said. As we wrap up, let's bring everything together with some powerful takeaways that can truly transform how you make a man miss you. Not by chasing, but by mastering presence, energy, and emotional influence. First, remember this. Making a man miss you isn't about tricks or manipulation. It's about authenticity, paired with strategy. It's about knowing your worth and living it boldly. When you stop overgiving your energy and start guarding it like the precious resource it is, you shift the dynamic completely. He no longer takes you for granted because your availability isn't guaranteed, it's earned. Second, contrast is your best friend. Emotional contrast, the balance between warmth and mystery, availability and distance, creates tension that fuels longing. Men crave the challenge of earning your attention, not the comfort of having it handed to them on a silver platter. When you pull back with grace and self-respect, you ignite that deep subconscious craving that makes him think about you even when you're not around. Third, feminine energy is magnetic. It's not about playing games or pretending to be someone else. It's about embodying your softness, your strength, your presence, and your confidence in a way that feels natural and powerful. When you do that, you stop chasing and start pulling. And that's the difference between being forgotten and being unforgettable. Now here's the bonus tip. Most women overlook your absence has to be felt, but without ghosting or coldness. You don't have to disappear completely to make him realize what he's missing. Instead, create space by slowing your responses, being less emotionally available, and focusing on your own life and joy. This subtle withdrawal signals that you value yourself and that your attention isn't something to be taken lightly. It's that magnetic energy combined with your authentic self that keeps him thinking about you and wanting more. So, as you move forward, remember the power isn't in chasing him. It's in becoming the woman who stands firm, shines bright, and lives fully, with or without him. That's the woman no man can forget.